Eric is one of the few people I know that has actually crossed over between the art world and the commercial world, and taught me to appreciate the commercial world in ways I never thought I would. But for all the resources and the technology and the groups, the aesthetic efforts that are put into commercial advertising and programming that I underappreciate, and Eric has taught me to appreciate. So he has pulled together a program of both sides of his career, as well in the art world and in the commercial world. So this is Eric Sachs.
Thanks. Thanks, Anne. I want to actually give some notes about the program. It's, first of all, a very rich, dense 90-minute program. So I'm just going to, after I give you some notes, we'll just roll it all the way through. There's a lot to see. There's a green handout that indicates some additions and a few different subtractions and reordering. A very curious thing for me about curating this program was how difficult it was to reach a lot of people on the internet. I principally curated through the internet, and then in some cases people I had followed their work and knew their work. But I was amazed that for the first time this was a curation that I did, that I would think I was contacting someone. Sometimes it would be trying to reach someone who had an alias or a moniker, and I couldn't get a response. And I had to end up rejecting a lot of work because I could never reach the maker. And that to me seemed like a really weird anachronism for what the net was about, where there was all this creative activity, but then people were unreachable or had chosen not to respond. And then at the same time, I noticed that there were a lot of people creating mystique, that they didn't want to respond, that the only sort of portal or vector to what they were about was this presentation of this video work online, and they didn't want to communicate in any other way. They didn't want to have comments on YouTube or something like that. So I ended up actually trying to underscore a pattern of works that had mystery in it, and mystique and ambiguity, and were open to interpretation. And that was what I felt was particular about this kind of arts experimental independent genre, that there's a tradition that goes back to the turn of the 19th century, or the 20th century, I should say, to the surrealists and the Dadaists, of making work that is much more open to interpretation. And I think compared to the other genres that are showing in this summit, that's a characteristic that you don't see in a lot of the other genres, is that I think the other genres, the work is often very clear what it's about, and all the signifiers are specific. So that's what we'll actually see today, some work that's kind of confounding, very, I think you have to bring a lot to it yourself to figure out sometimes what it's about. Other stuff is very idiomatic of things you probably know or have seen as well. And then another note would be that I also picked work that I felt like I wanted to watch again and again. So I felt, in a way, all the work had this classicness to it, or it was at least work that I wanted to try to keep figuring out. And so that was one of my criteria.